Hello and welcome to another insightful and educative episode of African Student Voices on AAU TV. And my name is Ajimala Chodako. Don't mind my nose mask, it's part of the protocols, and that's why I have to be in nose mask speaking to you. I'm glad you're watching us today on African Student Voices because we're dedicated to inform, transform. And we can't have a conversation these days without COVID-19. So we're on the COVID-19 series looking for what COVID-19 has taken a toll on and discussing the way forward. And today we're bringing you a topic, the impact of COVID-19 on job mobility, job search, and artificial intelligence. We believe that, in these uncertain and very abnormal times, COVID has taken a big toll on employment. People are not able to rise the ranks in firms because of COVID-19. And some who are actually on job search are finding a hard time because COVID has driven so many people away, or redundancy and a whole lot. But what is it in for the youth? What can we do about it? So we'll know the issues today and see the way forward. With me in the studio are passionate, great leaders to help me discuss the issue for you to appreciate and also join the discussion. So please join us on Facebook and YouTube with your comments, and don't go anywhere. We'll go for a short break, right back, and I'll let you know who I have in the studio with me. You're welcome back, and if you just joined us, it's African Student Voices on AAU TV, where the students' voices are really heard, the contributions of students are heard. And we're in the studio today to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on job mobility, job search, and artificial intelligence. I want to begin with the first one, the congenial, the congenial Victoria Amankwaa. She is the General Secretary of GRASAG GIJ. You're welcome, Victoria.
Thank you so much.
And also I have here, I'll call him the gentleman of the land, because he's in line. And he is in the person of Mr. Alswel, Annan. He is the Limun Ambassador and also the PUSAG President. Also, you're welcome to African Student
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad having you all nice people, because you are really the hotcakes right now. Talk about this matter. So I'm glad to have you here. And today we want to have a discussion on the state of COVID-19 and how it's affected job mobility, job search, and also artificial intelligence. There's fear looming up because we think that AI is a competitor against human labor. And also on the other hand, COVID has made it hard for people to search for jobs, also acquire jobs, and also rise in the ranks of jobs. Some have lost their jobs already. So we really want to have a very tough discussion, basically, to help people understand what is it for them in these times. But let's begin for them to know who you are, basically. Victoria Amankwaa, you just became the Secretary for GIJ GRASAG. How has it been like with you on this one?
Oh, it's cool. It's not been tough, and we are still working on it. And we are just working out with the whole brouhaha pertaining the deferment of some student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. But aside that, everything is going on well.
It's unfortunate. I think you just resumed the office, and that's the first thing that was on your table. But I know you still with your team. But how has it been also as a youth MP from your community? How inspired are you to keep things going over there?
Oh, okay. Everything is going on well. And gladly, as we took the mantle as youth parliamentarians, the positivity that we've wanted to see for the past 15 years or a decade has been achieved.
Great.
And I will speak with joy and with happiness, because before I took that position as a youth MP, road issue was one of the main problems that was affecting my people. And as a result of that, when it comes to wet seasons, kids are not able to go to school. But as I speak, I emphatically state that our roads are being constructed, our dams have been made, and because of this, kids now go to school. And whenever I step at Bon Katamanso, I step with pride and joy, because at least my team and I has made the impact we wanted to see. And then when it comes to sanitation, it was one of the major issues. But now, because of the help of a young company that we partnered with, dustbins have been able to give to some households and companies. And because of this, we know greater stakes are for us, and we have height to climb. And Bon Katamanso is proud of us, and so is a joy that we've always wanted to see.
Great.
So things are going on.
Kudos to you on your role as youth MP.
Thank you.
I'll come to you also. How's it been so far working with Limun as ambassador and also working as the PUSAG president thus far?
Thank you very much once again for this opportunity.
Sure.
It has not been easy combining Limun, PUSAG, that is talking about all the private universities in Ghana, and work as well.
Sure.
Despite everything, I also work. But there is one thing that I believe in, passion. Anything that you want to do in this world, if you have passion in it, regardless, you'll be able to sail through. So far, so good. Just that because of COVID-19, there were some of the things that we were supposed to do, we couldn't, because those things were supposed to be done physically. And COVID, indeed, protocols did not allow that. And therefore, we have no option. And for instance, it's very difficult to even do it or migrate to online. It's virtually impossible. For instance, the annual PUSAG games, you cannot play soccer, athletes on Zoom. It is impossible. But for me, looking at everything, chronicling our achievements and the things we were able to do, I think so far so good.
Great. Now let's zoom into discussion right now. In these times we're in, people are uncertain about companies' ability to hire people and even promote people. Somewhere last year we had lots of surprises, redundancies, cuts in salaries, and even some service personnel were even sent home. All of these events happened, and we're asking ourselves, what is the future of one getting employed in these times? So let's start with you. Help us understand the effect of COVID-19 in your own view on job mobility, job search, and also in Ghana, basically, in Africa.
Okay. As I always say, COVID has really done harm to our African sector, especially because West African countries is part of those countries that even development is very difficult for us. And now that this novel coronavirus has even stretched it further here, a lot has happened. And especially to the youth, we've all been victimized with such issues, especially with my colleagues who completed last year.
How did it go with them?
It didn't really go well with them, I can bear to the fact. Even those who were doing national service were even stripped off, told to come home in order not to spread the COVID. And as a result, many lost their jobs. Because I know of a friend who was working in a very prominent company, but because of COVID, was told to come home. And some too had the opportunity to still maintain their jobs, but there is precedency when it comes to the working hours and hence even salaries. So this has affected our economy as well. And I know some people are still striving well, but there is still a future. Despite the odds of COVID-19, there is still a way that we can still climb to the top. Yeah.
You know, I share in your optimism, but I want us to delve deep into the experience of these people, your colleagues who had to leave their job post and go home. How did they feel and how were they thriving? What were they going to do at home actually?
Okay, I had a friend, she completed from my school, GIJ, and she was one of the national service personnel that was told to come home. So when she came, I asked her, she told me, Vic, what am I going to do? I was like, I believe in you, because I always say I believe in the capabilities of the youth, and I believe there are those who can drive the system to a different level.
Yeah.
So she tried to apply to companies, but the feedback she was getting was, we are not in normal times and we can't employ you. So what she did was to adapt into the technological sector by exploring some entrepreneurial skills to be able to sustain life. And in the COVID times, everything was virtual. So the skills that she had, she needed to mold it into the technological, fit into the system that we had. And I can bear to the fact, the little business she introduced is now making rings in the system. And she didn't even call me that she was even applying. So when others were calling that they want some ideas on how to apply for jobs and everything, she was rather doing her business. So as I always say, it doesn't matter the times that we have for ourselves. The future is always bright, pertaining on how you mold things around you. You can always create opportunity for yourself. Because problem comes with opportunities. And there is a key to every opportunity that comes your way.
You know, I'll pick it on your last word with issues come with opportunities. And I want to find out from also, do you really say in this line that issues or challenges have some aspect of opportunities that present to us? Regards to COVID, is there any opportunity in COVID-19 for job mobility? Job search?
Thank you very much. Yes, obviously there is opportunity. For me, there is one thing I personally subscribe to, that in any challenge, there is opportunity.
Okay.
So your ability to discover that opportunity will do you good. Now, before I speak about opportunities associated with COVID-19, it is important we get to know statistics regarding what we are discussing here. Now, according to International Labour Organization, 114 million people, and the lockdown caused these people to lose their job. And it's resulted in about 3.7 trillion people lost labor income,
Okay.
which is very, preposterous, devastating, and humiliating to people. And looking at this statistic, Ghana is not exempted. We are part. Now, a research was conducted by Ghana Statistical Service, UNDP, and World Bank. And according to them, 770,000 people lost jobs due to COVID-19. Now, before COVID-19, obviously, job in this country, I mean, in a country where we had graduate unemployed, for me, one of the shameful associations I've ever come across, for a graduate to form an association. Now, upon all this, COVID came in. And due to COVID, most of the companies were told to shut down. For instance, the hospitality industry. Now, regarding this, all those who are working in those hospitality industry cannot continue to work in their various sectors because you have been told to shut down. Now, ask us, where does the company get the funds to pay you? The company pays you through the service you are rendering, but in this case, you are not rendering the same service. So, COVID indeed came with a lot of challenges. Now, you cannot talk about all the challenges by excluding the opportunities. Yes, for me, I think we have more opportunities in COVID that we can take advantage of. For instance, we can carefully analyze our agriculture sector by making it attractive and magnificent to the young people. Because when you look at it well, even if COVID keep on increasing, I'm talking about the cases, you don't need to observe any protocol by engaging in agriculture. So it's something that I think we can also focus on by adding technology, advancing technology in agriculture sector. And I personally think that it will help us, not just only adding technology, by adding value to it. And I personally think it will help us. As I said, I've never seen a farmer being told globally by any president that when you go to farm, you must observe safety protocol. Obviously, no. So for me, when we do it well, we will be able to get more young people and we will not experience redundancy and we will not tell our people to go home. When the government tells organizations to shut down their businesses, farming will still be moving. And we can also take advantage of internet because when COVID came in, everything migrated online. So we can also look at it critically and see how best we can do by ensuring that we will not find ourselves wanting in these circumstances. Interestingly, all the three people sitting down here, we are wearing nose masks. Now, those who are in this industry are fetching huge sums of money, sanitizer, for instance. So COVID really also brought a lot of opportunities. And fortunately for us too, the president of this country made it compulsory that all this were supposed to be manufactured in Ghana instead of outside. So those who are contracted are Ghanaians. They are working. They'll be able to feed their family, and they'll be able to also employ more people. So for me, COVID, regardless of its challenges, its consequences or repercussions associated with the youths or the whole country as a whole, it also came out with some of opportunities.
Great. We just warmed up, we're just warming up on the discussion, basically knowing, I think, how COVID-19 has really affected business and also the way forward. But don't go anywhere. We'll go for a quick break and come back. We'll now delve deep into the solutions, the way forward, and what the realities are. Don't go anywhere. How often do you find the African print
on the market?
So welcome back to African Student Voices, and my name is Ajimon Chudako, and we just came back. We're still on the effect and the impact of COVID-19 on job mobility, job search, and also artificial intelligence. And we're about to delve deep into discussion as we did at the beginning. We'll also mention that we have avenues that we have to explore. Agriculture was one of them, and also the internet, and also so many indigenous businesses should really take advantage of this. But we want to really speak to the realities. What is real right now is that agric is not attractive in this continent. We know this. How many students in our universities are studying agric? How many students even see the need to know more about agric? We know how agric works in our country here, being real. Because someone told me that we sit and talk, but the reality isn't what it is. We'll come back to also your point on agric. You mentioned that your friend was an entrepreneur out there. Do you think Ghana or Africa basically is so viable to create more room for student entrepreneurs from your view?
Yes. I quite remember I saw a reportage on, I think, TV3 or GTV some time ago. The discussion was that the government should put things in place in order to boost student entrepreneur.
Yes.
That's when it comes to tax.
Sure.
Therefore, they should waiver tax from small-scale businesses in order to, influence or attract students. Because assuming I'm in the creative team, let's say I wave beads, I have a small shop, and somebody like me who just started the tax, you are tasking me for this. How will I even get to expand the business and employ others in order to curb that unemployment association, as he said, in this country? So it's one of the things the government can look at it. And with the agricultural sector, I think I'll tap with that, please, since I'm doing something in the agricultural sector.
What are you doing?
It's an exporting company.
Okay.
So we started somewhere last year. A colleague told me about an opportunity in the agric sector, and others also said farming. So I just how can I complete judge and come and do farming? And what she was doing was maize. So one said, despite everything, we can still make use of the maize. We can still brand it. We can add some value to it and attract others into it. Then we came up with the ideology that, fine, Ghana, when it comes to cashew nut, when it comes to cotton, when it comes to shea butter, is one of the things that we produce very well in the northern sector. But hence, tapping into it is very difficult for the younger people. So why don't we look at the northern sector, when we do that, we create jobs for all these people. And instead of just going to buy the shea butter and distribute to the market women, we can export it. Because there are other companies outside the country, like US, who make use of shea butter for creams, oils, and other stuff. We have China, we have UK. They all make use of this. UK, for instance, there was a company that used the shea butter for, I think, makeups. Yes. So the three of us came with a mindset that we will add value to the agric sector in order to attract people. So we came up with the idea. We, as graduates, we went into companies with our proposal, well dressed. That is the value you add to yourself.
Yeah.
Because the work is there. It is up to you to use the theoretical ideology you tapped your tertiary sector to add value to whatever you do. Because assuming you walk into a farm, an old woman of about 60 years planting tomato, you tell the person, Grandma, add value. How will she do it? But we, the youth, are privileged enough to have had the educational skills so we can add the value to it and make it, valuable to people. So that's what we did. We walked into companies, talked to the CEOs. We had the opportunity to meet directors. We talked to them. They believed in us. As I said, there are great people out there who believe in the entrepreneurial skills of people. And Mr. Sunny is one of them. He's a CEO for Sunu Group of Companies in Circle. He believed in what we were doing. So he said then he would tap into whatever we are doing and push us to the frontiers and onto the political sphere. And so this man connected us to people outside the country, even at the export sector, to assist us in whatever we are doing. And that is at the agric sector. So we met these people at the bench, we talked to them, we made them aware that fine, Ghana is one of the country because over 60% of our populace are into agric. Okay. And these are old and then old women and men. But our youth are not tapping there. They want the white collar jobs, the governmental sectors, where the full AC. And then
well, you're going to blame them. You're going to blame the youth when they choose that sector because that is what they've been fed to know affects more money. Just recently, what Channel Kwame on TV is promoting the fact that parents should advise their children to choose TVET schools because government now wants to invest more into technical vocational education training. But has that been the initial thought? We are rented to always work to tie because that affects more money.
Exactly. You know, that is the perspective. Because earlier in our tertiary institutions, they will tell you, oh, when some the lecturers can say when you are done, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Finance Ministry, banks and other places. That has always been the perspective and the social construct that is the best place we paid. That is the best place where you can get the money that you need.
Sure.
But as we build on, these social constructs formed around us is not the main reality on the ground. Because when you enter into the system, before you realize that is not what I thought of. Because assuming you complete 4 years in school and be receiving 500 Ghana cedis, would that be enough for you? So now I have realized on the real grounds that the youth of today are now beginning to widen their scope and their intelligence when it comes to these aspects of
job. Vicky, on the issue of widening their scope, I want us to just move to also on the point that also we are trying to create opportunities for young people who are stranded in the job market right now because of COVID-19. You mentioned that we could create our own indigenous, we can industrialize our own economy with basic things like nose masks and coal. But you and I know that these latest or wax-made nose masks mostly are imported. Do you think there is enough policy grounds to support people to create their own, or let's say, be indigenous industrialists and also make money from it in our economy?
Thank you once again. Before I answer this, I want to add something to the agriculture sector.
Sure.
You see, the point is not because you were told that the only way to become a successful person is through white-collar jobs. Now, the point is, my mother, I'm setting an example, was a farmer. Yes, and she's still a farmer. Now, maybe she being a farmer, she started or she entered into farming for over years. And now she can't boast of anything. So obviously, she will never advise me to also enter into farming. So the point is, I personally think that the successive government have failed Ghanaians when it comes to agriculture sector, because that needed attention is not given to farmers. That is a challenge. So for instance, not that graduates are hesitating to enter into farming, but because they don't get the needed support. They don't get the needed attention. Because for instance, you don't expect a graduate to hold a cutlass to go to farm and read. The person does not have the strength. How did the person enter into farming? You need capital. You need technology. Yes. How do I get this? I just graduated from university. From that, I started my national service, of which I received less than 600 Ghana cedis. How do I mobilize this money to even go and pay for land, acres of land, to start farming? So that is a challenge. We need assistance. We need support from government, corporate companies. So when they come on board, obviously, you find a lot of graduates or youth who will be, voluntarily enter into farming. Now, when you look at 2020, Ghana imported 950 tons of rice. Now, you just ask yourself, the huge sums of money that we use to import this. And obviously, we import everything in this country. So if the needed attention is given to farmers, under no circumstance will we even waste our time to go and import this. And when you import, you are rather sending the money to them. But when we do everything in this country, obviously the money will remain. We get more people. I mean, for instance, if we're a farmer and you have about 20 acres of land, obviously, how many people are you going to employ? Exactly. So not that we don't want to enter into farming or we see farming to be non-recreative. Obviously, no. But there is no attention. That is the point. Now, we are talking about cocoa rows, that sometimes you ask yourself, most of these so-called cocoa rows are constructed in the cities. But we are talking about cocoa rows. I don't know whether we grow cocoa in Accra here or Kumasi. Sure. But how? Yeah. Access to road in exactly. Yeah. So how do you expect me to enter into something like this? And at the end of the day, when the time is due for them to go and even sell their cocoa, getting the money becomes problematic. Sure. Sometimes delays. I know what I'm talking about. Yes. My parents were farmers, and personally, I know some of these things. Yes. You get somebody can harvest bags of maize, and they will have all this in their rooms. There is no needed support. But if government comes on board this industrialization, one or two, focusing on these things, I think, you get a lot of people on board. You know, that after you harvest the maize, what do you used to do? You only cook, and that is the end of it. But in other countries, they use maize to do a lot of things. Even some of them use it to do wines and alcohols and all that. But Ghana is not like that. So we need a needed attention. We need a needed support. Government should support us. Most attention should be given to us. We should decentralize funds to our farmers. And I think, we'll be able to get more people. We will not struggle with this. When you go to Italy, one of the lucrative business there is tomato, isn't it? Yeah. Now, look at the state of Italy now. That is what they do most. And they are fetching huge sums of money. So if government can consider all this and the corporate companies or the entities, I think we get a lot of you to enter into farming. And it will be a good for all of us. Yes.
But now the policy aspect. Do we have enough political strength, or let's say policy strength, that could give room for young entrepreneurs to do their own business in Ghana and succeed? Because there's that much competition. It's like we are trying to help ourselves, but there's a bigger force fighting us, which is higher than what we can do.
You are right, and I agree with you 100%. I think the government and the previous government have done their best. But for me, I think there is still room for improvement, because we like talking too much. We don't walk the talk. Exactly. Obviously, we abandon importation of rice. By the time we realize we are importing them, we abandon importation of this. By the time we realize, and obviously, when those things come, we prefer the imported ones instead of the locally made ones. And that is the challenge. So if the political will is there and we don't just talk as it used to be from all the government that I know, from 1992 up to now, when it comes to the political will relating to this, we are failed, the youth. Yes, it is a fact. I think it is a time for government as a matter of agency to reconsider all this, because it will help all of us. Because we always like talking. We abandon this. We are not importing this. By the time we realize we are doing it, So I think it's a time for policy makers to come out with a formidable policy to assist the indigenous industries. We should give the indigenous industries taxes free and support. You should even set up technical team that they will go out to check the work that they do, not just finding fault, but to assist them. Because if some people, one thing I know is that Ghanaians are not lazy, especially the youth. When you have access to meet them, some of them have brilliant ideas that when they get the opportunity or the needed support, the things that they will do, it will surprise you. That is why if you realize this, mostly when people migrate from this country and they go out, you see them excelling. And this vaccine that came, I stand to be corrected, but I think a Ghanaian, you know, exactly the point. Yeah. And when you look at these big organizations in this world, you find most of Ghanaians there. You ask yourself why? Because that place, they get access to distance. The support is there. They needed attention. But unlike this country, mostly when they even see you that they have such a potential, you know, the system even fight against you. That is a challenge. So it's the time for you to wake up. You know, we like backbiting. We like, hindering people's success. Instead of you to assist them, support them, we don't do. So I think we lack the political will. For me, that one we have failed. And I think maybe we need to look at this well.
Well, we'll have to wrap up because of our time, and we'll still have to send a message as concise as it is to everyone out there to understand the state of affairs right now with the mobility, jobs and also artificial intelligence, and what we can do. Victoria, what in your view would you want to sound to every young person out there? As also mentioned, we are full of potential, but we lack the congruence, the direction and the speed we don't have. What should we expect from this pandemic and also from ourselves, the next way forward? What should we do?
Okay, I'd like to add up to what Alswel just said. In Ghana, for instance, if somebody travels outside, the environment has been molded in a way that gives them that access to even unleash whichever potentials they have.
Great.
But in Ghana here, it seems our system has been molded and functioning in a way that it doesn't even give the youth the access that they need to even build whatever skills they have or whatever capabilities that they have. And that is one thing that we are not striving hard as a nation. And due to that, the development that we always want to see is not seen. Because our political leaders will know how to do the talking, but when it comes to the actionable per se, to back the words that they say, is something they don't do. Okay. And when it comes to strong policies, to be able to institute and make sure there are accessible things for these youth, they don't do it. And one thing I always say is that Ghana, we have a very weak institution. We have the strong men, but we don't have the institution that put these strong men on their toes to do whatever they've been instructed to do. Someone can boldly enough to enlist policies that could really help the younger people, but at the end, they will rather do what they want. They'll have their way because our institutions have been manipulated in a way that gives them the free will, and hence there is no any sanction or anything attached to this. But when you go outside, they have the strong men, their institutions are very strong and are being tasked force that these people do whatever they are supposed to do to help the economy. That is why somebody will tell you, I want to travel outside to hustle because for there, I know things will be more easier for me than in Ghana. But in Ghana, I always say there are so many things around us. For the youth, there are so many opportunities around us that we can delve into that can make it. But our system is really not giving us a chance. Our leaders are not making the adequate resources or the facilities to facilitate whatever we want to do as people. And that is one of the main hindrances we've been facing over decades now. Ghana is six decades plus, and we are still facing such issues. And I realize it's not something we are fighting for. It's something we are fighting against, and we don't want to do anything to make things better. But for the youth, there are greater opportunity for us. Because whenever I meet young people, I interact with them, I see angry people willing to make the change that we never saw from 1992 to date. We've had 4 Republicans and we are still suffering as a nation. But the youth of our time are willing to drive that force to a different level. But it's time that the facilities, or let me say the institutions we have in our country are well strong enough. If we have the strong men, Zimbabwe had the strong men, but then what did we see? Rwanda had the strong men, but what did we see? We rather saw genocide. Ghana has a strong men, but we don't want to involve in another genocide. It's time that our institution put task force on our leaders to pave way for the youth to get what they want to get. Because there are so many opportunities that youth can tap in. But if the system is fighting us, then how then do we get to what we want in life?
Also,
Yes, sir.
what would you want to say as a closing remark?
All right. Thank you once again. I just want to make this passionate appeal to our lawmakers, policymakers, and the government. One thing that I've come to realize is that Ghana has one of the best policies, but its execution is the challenge. We have the technocrats, but the implementation. So with the greatest of respect, the youth, we are the future leaders. And the next generation is fully counting on us. We cannot afford to fail them. And it is important that the policymakers take us seriously. Enough of the talk. We want to see action. They should assist the youth. It can be in any form, technical support, financial support, and any engagement. They should take us, add us to the policy implementation, decision making, and I think it will help all of us. At the end of the day, a nation without youth is like a sea without fish. Obviously, it becomes irrelevant. The relevance of the sea can be seen through the fish that we get from the sea. So we are appealing to them. It is time for them to help us. They should take agriculture sector seriously, because I think that it is the only sector that can employ a lot of people if we pay the needed attention to it. Because even as it stands now, even though we are not paying necessary attention to it, but that employs most of the people statistically. So it should tell you that when we do it well, you'll be able to get more people on board. As I told you, you are talking about cocoa rows, but those so-called cocoa rows are constructed in the cities. Are you helping the farmers or what? So it's like we don't even regard them, because they worked, they toil for all this, and at the end of the day, you have cocoa hospital or clinic in Accra. How possible? This hospital or clinic should be situated in a nearby village where we grow cocoa, not in the city, so that the farmer knows that at the end of the day, my high end will take me to this hospital. But even when you go there, the hospital you see there's nothing to, write home about. It meaning that we don't regard them. So it is time for we to pay needed attention to our farmers, the agri sector, and the youth. And I think it will be helpful for all of us. For me, I think that if somebody has something doing, under no circumstance will that person engage in atrocity, or engage in chaos or armed robbery, but mostly it happens because I know that when I go out and something happens to me, I have nothing to lose. But you have something to gain, under no circumstance will you compromise. Obviously not. But you see people engaging in a whole lot of things which are unnecessary, not because they want to, because they have nothing doing. So why can't we consider all this and assist our youth so that we bring end to all this?
Great. Thank you very much, my guest, for the passionate elaboration you've made to this matter on the impact of COVID-19 and job mobility, job security, and artificial intelligence. You know, we can't forever lament on the dents that COVID-19 has had on job mobility, search, and artificial intelligence. What we can do is to chart a positive way forward, which our guests have mentioned to you all, that you need to just step up. But we have to right the wrongs in our economy. There's so many things that we're doing wrongly. There's so many priority areas that we're not giving the attention to, as also was mentioned. That our great is one that can really absorb a lot of people, number of people, the youth, but we're not giving the attention. And also, Victoria mentioned that there are so many indigenous businesses that we can also give more hands to, more attention to. But are we doing that? I believe that if Africa begins to right the wrongs that we have committed all these years and give the attention to the youth and prioritize with the youth, we can find a growing continent, because we are bound to grow. But how do we do it if we are not involved? Thank you so much for your time watching us and the comments you've got on board. We're glad to review it and also see how we could bring you more great contents to educate you, to inspire you, to inform you. Have a nice day and take care of yourself. Be safe. Bye.